Oh, good morning, everybody. Welcome to live TV and all that and technology. I hit the wrong button. Welcome to Invisible Condition, everybody. It's not all in your head. And I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. And we created this show for you because we know that everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, knows. We want them to know that they have a voice, a community, and that they are not alone. Because it's true, you're not alone. Not even on the days that you feel like you are. So here we go. I'll tell you what, my guest today. Okay, Cindy Gersch is my guest today, and she's awesome. And she is, it's unbelievable. She was a full marathoner, former full marathoner, including running the Boston Marathon after the bombing that happened. Everybody remembers that, right? And former military reporter for CBS. And almost immediately after being diagnosed with the rare and chronic disease, Fibromuscular Dysplasia, which we'll get into because I knew nothing about that until I talked to her. So we're going to get into that in the show. Her then husband deployed for a year, leaving her to face this new diagnosis alone. The condition also left her with 2 brain aneurysms, which I only know one other person that's had 2 brain aneurysms. So that is awesome. I mean, that she is here and thriving, and this is going to be a great story. So through sheer determination, of course, Cindy emerged as the owner of an award-winning marketing agency, a globetrotting single mom, and a passionate advocate for chronic disease awareness, which I love. Cindy Gersch is an author, speaker, compelling storyteller whose life journey from the distinguished military reporter to vice president of corporate communications for a multibillion-dollar developer is a testament to resilience and triumph. And oh my gosh, it's a story, man. We gotta get into this. I can't wait anymore. Actually, I gotta grab this real quick. Okay, there we go. Now I'm not gonna wait anymore. Okay, all right, here we go. Hey, good morning, Cindy.
Hello, Jeff. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. I love your opening with all like the smiley people. It just made me so happy.
Well, I changed it up for season 2 a little bit. If you probably people that don't watch it regularly probably don't realize it, but I used to have more pictures of myself and my family and different things for season 1, and some of those smiling faces are former guests.
Yeah, so, I kind of figured that. Yep, I figured that.
They were awesome. I mean, I'll do the same thing for season 3 and season 4, and it's just fun little thing to do. It's kind of cool. So yeah. So thank you for coming. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And can you just share a little bit of a brief overview of what the heck fibromuscular dysplasia, FMD, is, and how it initially kind of rocked your world?
Yeah. So as you said, I was a marathoner, a full marathoner. I'd run 13 full marathons, including the Boston Marathon. I ran it the year after the bombing, which in and
Oh
itself
man.
was just a story. And I'd actually run a half marathon in Chicago the week before I was diagnosed with FMD. So,
Oh
I
man.
was healthy. I was a vegetarian, don't drink, working out, all the things. And I ran that half marathon. And a week later, I ended up in the emergency room thinking I was having a stroke. And I remember the doctor saying, the good news is you didn't have a stroke. The bad news is we think you have this rare disease, but we've never even really seen it here before because that's how rare it is. So we're going to send your scans off to a hospital that deals with it. I live in Atlanta. I'm lucky. I'm one of, at the time, there were only 15 hospitals in the world that deals with my disease. There's like 17 now. We've got like 2 more hospitals.
Whoa.
So he said, live your life, because I couldn't get into the hospital until like October. Live your life because you probably don't have this disease. So I did. I lived my life for 3 months, went down to the hospital, and they were like, you actually do have this disease. And oh, by the way, you have a pretty severe case of it. So I was like, what does this mean? And then you hear like, I like to say it's like Charlie Brown's teacher, where everything else is like, wah, 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 wah. You hear like
Right.
nothing else, right? It's like, what does this mean? So what fibromuscular dysplasia is that all of my arteries are weak. So every artery in my body is weak. So that puts me at a high risk of dissection, which, as you know, when you dissect an artery, blood stops, that causes lots of problems. But then we're also at risk for ballooning, aneurysms. And we're also at risk for things like heart attack, stroke. I thought I was having a stroke. But what's interesting about FMD is some of our arteries can become misshaped. They can become tortuous, or they can look like, we say they look like a bead of pearls. So they go thin and thick, thin and thick.
Yeah.
And for me, 4 places, this is why we say I have sort of a severe case of it. 4 places in my body, they are the bead of pearls. My vertebrals, my carotid, my renal, and my iliacs. And when you have specific places like that, that is where it can cause like pain, or if you have it in your renals, high blood pressure, that's really where it causes like the issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Just listening to you describe it, I thought, ouch. Yeah. That would cause. Yeah.
I mean, so some of the issues that, like, when it's in your carotid or vertebrals, chronic fatigue, which I have obviously, and migraines are a huge thing. I have it in my iliacs. So I have leg pain, really bad leg pain. So migraines, they can treat with, there's a lot of migraine medicines out there, right?
Yeah.
People study migraines. With my leg pain, because it's just weird. The only thing they can really do is put me on pain meds for that, because there's nothing else to really treat that. And then with your renal, it manifests with high blood pressure. And so there is a lot of us with FMD, the majority of people do have it in their carotid and their renals. That's where it always usually shows up. To have it in your iliacs is a lot rarer, but you can really have it in any artery in your body. People have it in their like arms and their stomach. It's like, it's a very weird disease, and it shows up. Like there are some people with FMD that they live their lives and they're like, listen, there's limitations that we all have to have. No one with FMD can run a full marathon. No one with FMD should go on roller coasters, should be on jet skis, certain things. Yeah. But people with FMD can go, and that's it. They don't have migraines. They're not fatigued, none of the things. Then there's FMD warriors like me, where it's really impacted my life significantly. So really, it's just a weird disease.
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of conditions out there like that. It's, like hydrocephalus, the one that I have, that I was born with. There's some people that were destined for brain surgery with hydrocephalus, because it's a brain thing. And so for me, I've only had 7, starting at 2 weeks old. Last one was a couple years ago, 7 brain surgeries over 4.5 decades. Some people half my age have had upwards of triple digits of surgeries. So wow. I totally understand. It's not cookie cutter. You can't just say, oh, you have FMD. I know what you're talking about. Right. No, you don't. Can you just for my sake, because of the geography of everything that you've said, did you say 3 or 4 different areas, the carotid and where are these arteries that you're talking about?
So carotid, I have it right here, my carotid in my neck, and then vertebral is in your brain.
Oh, okay.
And then renal is your kidney.
Right. Okay.
So, and then iliac is like near my pelvis. So going down to my legs. Yeah.
Okay. That's the one I was. Yeah.
I
That's
had
the one I
never
was
even
like,
heard of iliac. I was like, what the
yeah.
hell is I didn't know. And then I started having leg pain. And this is the other really interesting thing about
Yeah.
FMD is they say it's a non-progressive. We have to remember there's less than 4,000 people in the patient registry, which means we're the people who are being studied for FMD. So they know very little about FMD, right? It was only the first case was in the 1800s, but it really didn't start getting really studied until like 1980s, 1990s. Pam Mace, who is the head of Fibromuscular Dysplasia Society of America, she is like the queen. She's really the one who has been pushing for this. She's a nurse. And because of her, we have this registry now. So there's still less than 4,000 people who are being studied. So they're still learning a lot about it. One of the things they said is, we don't think FMD is progressive. We think that once you have it, however, with me, when I first was tested, and there's only one real test that can show that you have FMD, which is a CTA, which is a CAT scan with, they put the IV in you.
Yeah.
Contrast in you.
Yeah.
And so my first several CTAs that I had only showed vertebral, carotid, and renal, never showed my iliacs. And then I started having leg pain constantly. And I had 1,000,001 leg, every test that you could have. And they said, finally, okay, we're going to test your iliacs again just to see if you have FMD. And lo and behold, suddenly I had FMD in my iliacs. So whether it was there before and we just missed it, maybe, but maybe it did progress. Who knows?
Well, and it's so funny that you talk about all those tests, because I can relate there too. They test all these things, but no single test can see everything, right? So you do a CT scan, well, that didn't see it. You do an MRI, well, that didn't see it. You do an ultrasound, you do an X-ray, you do a whatever, and sometimes it could take a while for them to figure it out.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No,
One of the things that I speak so much about, particularly with women, I know, like, Jeff, you're a man, but it happens a lot with women. And for 3 years, I knew something was wrong with my body. And again, very healthy, running 70 to 80 miles a week, not smoking, not all the things, doing all the right things, but I knew something was wrong with my body. I was going to every single doctor that you could go to. Infectious disease, hematologist, urologist, endocrinologist, everything, neurologist, every possible, at every test. I mean, to the deep blood test that you could have. I was getting tested for everything you could be tested for. Nothing, you're fine. You're the epitome of health. Your stress test is there is nothing wrong with you, Cindy, to the point where they were like, it's in your head. You have anxiety or depression. And I was like, it is not and the amount of women, particularly, who tell me that this happens is scary, where they're like, no, it's not in my head. We know our bodies, something is wrong with us. And I knew something was wrong with me. And lo and behold, it took that one, thank God for that one doctor, because it was a specific, you have to be a radiologist a vascular radiologist has to know what he is looking for. Yes. It has to be a CTA. It's got to be a vascular radiologist who knows what he's looking for to look at those scans and say, oh yeah, this could be FMD, because it's not necessarily rare. 2% of the world, when you look at that number, isn't rare per se, but it's very underdiagnosed, and they don't study it. So doctors don't typically study it.
I mean, yeah, if it's something that rare, I mean, I've had people on this show that have had, there was one person that the condition she had only affected 2 out of every 1 million people in the country.
Wow.
So that's less than 1,000 people in the whole country. So what do you think they're going to throw a lot of money at that? No.
Exactly.
So, but I just want to throw this out there for the audience, because if anybody, if just because we're here for the next, 45 minutes still, anyone else has ever heard of fibromuscular dysplasia, or does anybody else run the marathon? Do you know anybody that has anything like this, that some of these symptoms sound familiar and you're like, wait a second, hold on, we've got the expert, right? Wait, not here. Here, this way. Yeah, she's here for the next 45 minutes. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere that you can type a message or ask a question, we'd be more than happy to, or we'll put contact info. We'll put her website up there in a little bit, and you can reach out to her, because this is part of the reason I do this, is because there's so many resources out there that people don't realize, and sometimes the most valuable resource is somebody who's living with it. And
absolutely,
I can totally, when you're talking about the doctors not believing you, that just kills me because
Mhm.
I've had the same experience in high school. For 2 years in high school, I knew that I needed surgery, knew that I needed brain surgery because the device, it's a long story I won't get into, but the device was basically pulling away from my head and it was hurting. It hurt really bad. And it was in my brain and it was trying to go out, and it was headaches all the time. And I kept telling it for 2 years it took for me to try to get them to convince them to actually check into it. And of course they found out that I was right. And I mean, not of course, I'm not right all the time, but in this case I was. And of course then I had brain surgery and everything was fine after that. But you got to listen to your body, man.
You do.
And
You do. And
you know your body better than anybody. So
oh, 100%. And one of the things that we've been able to tell because of this registry is there's this type of heart attack. It's called SCAD, and it's spontaneous coronary arterial dissection, which is where your coronary artery dissects. And that is very common. It used to be called like the widow's maker because it just usually and you just die immediately. And it's the most common heart attack or a cardiac attack for women in their, young women in their 30s, mid to lower 30s. And it happens a lot with women who are going through labor because it's such a stressful event when you're going through labor. We have found now there's a connection between women who have this event, who have lived SCAD, and who have FMD. It makes sense because one of the things that we've learned with FMD is like, I can't lift anything at all over 20 pounds for the rest of my life, period. I can't lift anything over my head. Anything strenuous you don't want to put on us because again, that risk of dissecting, like, so doing strenuous exercises, like having a baby, it can rip, that's the things. And so if there are women out there who have maybe had a SCAD or maybe they weren't even, because again, SCAD is a new term. They didn't even know that that's what happened to them. There is a good chance that they have FMD as well.
Oh man, that's crazy. And so how does, what I'm still kind of trying to grasp is how does FMD how can that cause a brain aneurysm? Like how does those two connect?
Because with FMD, when it's like it goes thin then thick, it like pools all your blood. The thin part of it goes to the thick and it like cuts it, you know what I mean? So it like thin then thick. It's a weird so my aneurysms right now are small, thank God, touch wood. So I just have to be monitored. Like right now I'm stable. So I have annual CTAs and I have annual velocity tests just to make sure that blood is flowing, carotid, renal. And then I take 7 prescriptions a day. But the thing with people with FMD is we have to be very cognizant. There's a list of things we cannot do. Like I said, no nothing jarring, that could really like roller coasters, jet skis, no chiropractors. Like that's very, very dangerous for us. No deep tissue massages, obviously no lifting anything heavy. So there's a list of things we cannot do. Medicines we can't take. We can't take ibuprofen. Any medicines that have even at any way said that there is a possibility of a dissection we can't take. So there's a long list of things that we cannot do. But for the most part, we do live like stable lives. However, with that caveat saying, you do have to very closely listen to your body. So like that is very, very important for us. And I know that's the way with a lot of people who have chronic diseases is you really have to know your body and say, okay, this doesn't feel like a regular migraine. This could be something more. Okay. It's really time for me to go to the ER. And that's something that we really have to pay attention to.
And totally. Yes. And this is crazy because the more people I talk to, and it doesn't even matter what condition it is, the more people I talk to, the more, I mean, what I read at the beginning about having community, and having a voice and not being alone. This is a perfect example because I am relating to so many things you're saying in a different way. I mean, it's, mine's more brain, focused. I mean, the aneurysms is brain, but it's a different system in the body that is giving me trouble than you. But a lot of the symptoms that you're talking about is I'm going, yep, check, and there's probably a lot of people out there with other conditions that are going, oh, thank God there's somebody that, that gets it, that understands. So it's huge. So
I think a lot of the time in the chronic and rare disease world, we feel very alone. You know what I mean? Like one of the things that I talk about a lot when I speak, and it's everybody's like, ding, 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 Cindy, you like hit a bell, is when I got sick, when I got diagnosed, as you read, it was like everything happened sort of at once. I got diagnosed 5 months later. My now ex-husband deployed for a year overseas. And it was like everything he left, 2 brain aneurysms. I went back to work, and 2 days later they laid me off. It was like every possible thing that could happen. And one of the biggest things that happened was, it was like I had all of these friends around me and they just disappeared. Poof. Where they went, I still to this day don't know. I literally, I was asked on a podcast that I did once, what would you say to all of those people that if they just showed up at your life, what would you? And I said, I just would want to know why. Why did you just like ghost me? Why did you just leave? Because I tell people, I threw my ex-husband a deployment party because he was going overseas for a year. We had 350 people at that party. 350. It was like a wedding.
Yeah.
Where were those people when he left 5 months later? It was like nobody. They all just disappeared. To this day, I still literally have like one friend here where I am. And I don't understand why that happened. And then I didn't at the time. I should say now I do, because that hit me very, very hard, very, very hard. And come to find out, that is a very common thing with people who have chronic diseases, because we're not that easy to be friends with, quite frankly, because we can't make plans and say, yeah, next Friday, we're going to go out to dinner with you guys, because we don't know what we're going to be feeling like next Friday. We have to sometimes cancel plans because we don't know. And that's why they get frustrated. People who don't have, well, she's always backing out, or well, believe me when I say, we would rather be going out to dinner with you than laying in our bed feeling like crap,
Yeah, no, totally. And I want to ask you a couple things about that. But first, I want to make sure that we go to our first break real quick.
Yes.
So on that note, I have kind of a question about that people leaving thing, because there's so many more commonalities that are coming out, and I want to ask you about that. But stick around, everybody. We're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna talk about how Cindy is kind of kicking butt and taking names in spite of this condition at the second segment. So stick around, don't go anywhere. We will see you on the other side of the break.
The Club eFit Home Portable Gym System is a groundbreaking new system that can help everyone at any fitness level. You can be the happy, fit person you always wanted to be, and Club eFit can make that happen by helping you get the body you deserve in the time you can spare. With workouts ranging from cardio, core, to total body toning, it's easy to get started. Start taking care of you today. To make the change, go to clubefit.com now.
All right, everybody. I'm gonna talk for just a second before we have Cindy come back. I gotta highlight this company because they are phenomenal. You can see them in the background here. It's called The Porch, and it's a coffee space. Really, that's coffee bags back there in case you didn't grasp that. That is phenomenal coffee, by the way. They are a coffee space in Portland, Oregon that it was created for community, and it was designed as a space where you can show up and be seen. And it's a nonprofit, actually, which is really cool. And they train people. They take people that have come to them because they've been ostracized in other parts of society, and they help them. They train them. They give them a skill and help them to succeed. And coffee is the vessel that they do that through. And I love that because I'm such a coffee nerd. So this is so perfect. I love this stuff. And so it's all about relationships there. And so if you are somebody that likes coffee and somebody who really resonates with this kind of a ministry and this kind of a charity, you too can be a part of that story wherever you are in the country. I don't think they ship worldwide yet, but anywhere in the country that you are, you can get their coffee, and it's phenomenal, and it's roasted fresh, and I'm drinking it right now. It's awesome. I'm drinking the which one? Kenya. I'm drinking Kenya right now, and it's phenomenal. So if you guys like coffee, you're gonna love this. Go to that website and order some. It's roasted fresh and shipped to you. So anyway, wanted to make sure I got the word out on that. And let's bring Cindy back and see what we're talking about next. I was gonna ask you. That's right. People leaving. People leaving. I have a dear friend that we've known since junior high school, and went to junior high and high school with her, and still keep in touch to this day. And it was kind of a similar thing. Her mom was diagnosed with something, and her dad just disappeared. Just
sounds familiar.
Yeah, like
hello.
It was like, this is a thing now. Oh yeah, I'm out.
I mean, that exact same thing happened to me. We were married for 17 years. And like I said, I threw him this huge deployment party, and he did deploy 5 months after my diagnosis. And I think what happened was, to his credit, he was gone for the first year of my diagnosis. He did not see how much I had changed. Mind, every ounce of me changed during that year. I could not run anymore. No longer was I this, I do say that literally who was I if I wasn't running Cindy? I was always the person who was I if I wasn't corporate Cindy wearing a business suit, jumping on an airplane to go fly across country to do a presentation? Who was I if I wasn't social Cindy, being the person entertaining because I didn't feel good? I couldn't do that anymore. Like I literally felt like I lost my identity. And so he came back to almost this new person, which he wasn't, he didn't, who is this person? Isn't this person that she was when she left? And I get that. I understand that. However, when you marry someone, it's supposed to be for sickness and in health and all the things. Yeah. So last Christmas, almost a year ago, he wrote me a note in a Christmas card, left it for me saying that he doesn't think that our marriage can last any longer. And he's not empathetic enough to be married to me. He literally, it's because of my disease. I mean, he wrote it in the card that he's not the right person to be married to me anymore. So yes, 17-year marriage down the drain because of my disease that I have no control over.
Well, no, you really don't. In that situation, you really don't have control over. And it's crazy because there's so many, like in the chronic condition world, the divorce rate is, whether it's parents of a child with a condition or like for hydrocephalus, I think it's like a 75% divorce rate.
I've heard 70 in general is 70 for chronic illness.
Okay, in general. Okay, so that lines up. So I personally, that blew my mind because my great grandparents, my grandparents on my mom's side, grandparents on my dad's side, were all married for 50, 60, almost 70 years. My parents have been married for 54 years this year. That blew my mind because my experience was not that. And so I couldn't believe it.
Same. Yeah. I mean, my parents met when my mom was 16 and my dad died suddenly when he was 66. So they were together 50 years almost. And I went into a marriage with the absolute best role models, thinking that that's how we were going to be. Right. Yeah. And it was the same thing. Like my grandma died of cancer. And I just remember my grandpa Green, like never leaving her side in the hospital, like just thinking that that's because that is how things are supposed to be, right? Like it is in your vows through sickness and in health. And, you don't
get married so that you can get divorced. You get married so that you could just, spend your life with that person. Yeah. It's not like.
Absolutely. Especially through, because, eventually if you grow old together with this person, one of you are going to get sick. Something's going to happen to one of you. And we had faced some health challenges with actually both of our kids when they were younger. And so I even felt like comfortable that we had gotten through that. But no, he literally could not handle my disease. He never went to met my doctor once. He never, it was like he just could. I don't want to say he couldn't handle it. He couldn't. He just was like, she's a new person. She's not the person I married. She's not the person she was when I left. I don't like this person. I'm going to take the easy way out. And I'm gone. He didn't even try. He honestly didn't even try. No, he didn't try at all. He just came home and was like,
that that almost, I mean, I don't want to throw him under the bus or anything because I don't know
Go
him,
ahead.
but
I don't care.
some
I'm sorry.
you just did, I guess. Sometimes that speaks to a person's like underlying, like who they were all along kind of thing. Sometimes,
Yeah.
it's like, where you just, it's which can be painful and can really be, I mean, that can be really painful to realize, so that you bounce back from that. I mean, the condition and the doctor's appointments and all the stuff that you have to do, like all that is okay, but that's not necessarily an emotional thing. But a marriage is an emotional thing. So to be able to bounce back from that is almost, well, not almost. It's just as big of a deal to be able to say, look, I'm still on my 2 feet. Here we go. So
yeah, I mean, if this had happened to me, had he left me right when I was diagnosed that 1 year, like, because that was the hardest time in my life. Like when I got diagnosed, then he left, then I found out I had the 2 brain aneurysms, then I couldn't run, then I lost my job, then I lost my friends. It was like one thing after another. And that is really when I like hit rock bottom. And that's when I started to drink and started to question everything, like life in general, like should I even be here anymore? What do I have to live for? All the things. And had he left me then, I really think I would have handled things much differently than I sort of learn to handle things now. Right. Because when you go through, I had to like figure out how to handle all of those things. And I wasn't healthy. I was like a unhealthy person with a disease for a while because I was drinking and I was being stupid and all the things, where I turned it around. And now I'm like, I know how to be a healthy person with a disease. Back then, unhealthy person with a disease. I've turned that around and I've become this person who now can handle things like my ex leaving me without turning it around and being, oh, woe is me. I'm going to start doing stupid. I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'm facing it head on. This disease is part of me now. And and I know how to deal with it. And because it can get very easy, especially when you have a disease, to end up turning it around and woe is me.
Sure.
I'm going into bed. I'm watching Netflix forever and I'm not getting out of that bed. It's very easy to be like that. When you're one of us, when you have a chronic disease, when you're in pain and stuff just keeps happening, and we can't do that. We can't allow ourselves to do that.
Well, I agree. You're 100% correct. You can't do that. But when you first get the bomb dropped on you that this is happening, especially what happened. I mean, you got a few bombs dropped on you at once, so it is totally natural to kind of go like revert back to whatever routine feels comfortable for 100%. A while, 100%. And then sometimes you have to. It's healthy to
100%.
But
and I say that too.
There.
Agree. I say that too as well. Give yourself some grace to do that. Like, don't feel like you have to be this Superman all the time. Allow yourself grace to take a day or two to like sit in bed, don't shower, watch your, trash TV, eat pizza, do all the things, as long as it doesn't consume you. Allow yourself the grace to do that. That's okay.
Well, and sometimes you have to grieve the loss of what you thought was going to be reality forever. Yeah. I mean, I think about that with my parents too. I was diagnosed at 2 weeks old. They went into a 2-week checkup with their new baby boy and said, okay, we're going to go in here. We're going to, listen to the doctor talk for a few minutes and carry on with our life and leave and go home. And then that was the day they found out I was going to have my first brain surgery. And I have this life altering condition. Like, you have to sit with that for a minute. You have to that's a bomb that you just got dropped and blew your whole life up that you thought was going to happen. So you have to kind of grieve the loss of that life that you thought you were going to have, no matter what the condition is, no matter how impactful it is, it's still a loss.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. And that's what I did when I was first diagnosed, because it wasn't just the FMD. Like I said, I think if it would have just been the FMD, that would have maybe been one thing, but it was, then I found out I had 2 brain aneurysms. Then I lost my job. Then my friend, and it was like, it got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Cause like I said, I really felt like I lost my identity. And I turned into the darkest place I had ever been in my entire life, for real. Like I thought I had turned to a dark place when my dad died suddenly, because he was like my person. This was a whole another level of darkness. It was bad. It was really, really bad.
Good Lord. Well, I mean, I admire you for dragging yourself out of that, because clearly you've done something to turn it around. So it's been hard work, but you've done it. So I applaud you. But tell me, you not only did you turn it around, but you've authored books about this. Tell me about
I think that it's important. So I've authored one book. I'm part of a book, and I'm in the process of actually writing my second book. And I have just in the process of, it's about to be published, a journal for Spoonies as well, which I'll talk about. But
nice.
It really there were a couple of things that kind of kicked me back into reality. One was I actually had one friend who stood by me the entire time. And this is what I say, if you have one person, it doesn't matter if that person is online or in your backyard. My trademarked quote is, it's better to have one dime than 10 pennies. So wouldn't you rather have like one dime in your pocket than 10 pennies floating around? Quality over quantity. And so she really helped me. She stood by me. She made sure I was okay. So I have this my one dime still to this day. She's here. That's all you need is one dime.
Right.
And there was a bunch of other things. I got sepsis, that kind of, when you realize like you're actually like dying and you have control over it, that kind of made me, and I saw there was just a bunch of things that like the universe was working that was like, you really no, it's time for you to like turn your life around. And I did. And I started this award-winning marketing agency completely on my own, which I love, being my own boss, which allows me to travel the world and to write, which I love to do, and to help other people who have faced challenges like we have, who have been in these very horrible places like I was, to say like, you can turn your life around. Even if you feel like you can't. Listen, if you have that one dime, that one person, and you believe in yourself, because everybody has something that they're passionate about. That's the reality of it. Everybody. It just might take a little bit of digging to find that, but you can, and you can really turn that around and do something with that. And that's what I'm starting to work on and work with. And so Following My Dreams is the name of the book, and it's FMD, Following My Dreams. Nice. Fibromuscular Dysplasia is the name of the book. I'm a chapter of the book which really talks about my journey, but that's really focused a lot on my trip to Africa. I went to Africa for 3 weeks, and how that was like changed my life in so many ways. It's really focused on that. And then my personal journey, which will hopefully be out in middle of 2024. So I'll come back and talk about that one a little bit more. And then my journal, I'm realizing, which I cannot believe, there's no journal for Spoonie. We call it, Spoonies. We call each other Spoonies, right?
Yeah.
There's no journal for Spoonies.
That's like, kind of is, I've heard that term related to several conditions, actually. Is it? So
anyone with a chronic disease is a Spoonie.
Okay. That's what I thought. But yeah. I've never really used that in conversation myself, but you're a Spoonie,
Jeff. You should use it.
I really should. Because I am. But so you have a journal. So is it like a fill in the blank?
It is. But so I was researching this because I was like, okay, as Spoonies, there's certain things that we all have in common, right? We all I'm sure you take medicine. We all have doctor visits that we go to. We all have to watch like what we eat, what the water intake, how much we sleep. There's certain things that. So I was like, okay, this is what I need to keep, because I'm like living in like 5,000, like I have so many of them floating around. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just going to order one online. And they're literally, the one that I found was like $60. I was like, absolutely not. So I'm going to create one. And I did. It's at the publisher right now, and it'll be out by next week. So it can be in place by Amazon. It's called Balancing Spoons, because hello, we're Spoonies and we're trying to balance life. And it'll be out by next week. It'll be on Amazon. It's called Balancing Spoons. But there's my website at the bottom, and it will also be on there as well. There will be a link.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the best place to go look at it and see what it looks. Because you and I have more in common than I thought, because I actually wrote a journal as well, and it's specifically for people with hydrocephalus. It's called My Hydro Warrior Story, and it's same kind of thing. I looked, and there's tons of things out there, and you probably found some similar results. There's hundreds of books out there about, I have this condition and here's my story going through it, right? There's tons of that, and so it's, those are everywhere, but I could not find one that's designed to help people walk through the process of, holy crap, I'm being diagnosed with what now?
Yeah.
And that means what kind of surgery, and and walking them through all that. And so we did the same thing last year or earlier this year. I think we published it in January or February or something. And so we did the same thing that you're getting ready to launch is a journal for, it's a little more specific. It's for hydrocephalus, but I love what you're doing with that because that is huge. That's bringing the community together just like we should, because
Because as you said, Jeff, we are more alike than we know. Like we just said, 70% of people with chronic diseases do face a divorce. Like, we all typically are in one way or the other. We have some fatigue. Usually people with chronic disease have some fatigue with them, with their diseases where, like I said, we can't just make plans 2 weeks down the road and think that that's going to work. Like even with Christmas, with the holidays are tough for spoonies, right? Like we want to do all the things and we want to do, but sometimes it's like, it's a lot for us. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah. So, it can be, man. I mean, for a while there, it was hard for me to even we go to a pretty big church in town in Colorado Springs here, and there's thousands of people there, and so any given service, there's maybe 2,000 people in there, and then the service releases out, and people in the lobby, and I couldn't do it for a while. I couldn't even be in the building because it was so much going on at once that it was just and so. Yeah, it's a thing. Even if it's not a brain thing, it's still fatigue.
It is. And with me, I love invisible condition because people look at me all the time and they're like, you look so healthy. And some days my legs will be so painful. Like my legs are so bad. Yeah. And like if I were to attend my church on Christmas Eve, I know it would be standing room only. I can't stand still for 2 hours because my legs won't let me anymore. Yeah. But yet I can't be like, oh, can I get a wheelchair or move over because people are like, what, your legs? You're like,
you're fine.
Yeah. Like my therapist says all the time, so I went to Israel. I travel a lot by myself, and I went to Israel and Jordan for 3 weeks by myself. And my therapist was like, you need to make sure you have a wheelchair at the airport and all the things because otherwise, and I was like, I just can't do it because then I look like, and she's like, Cindy, you don't understand. Like your legs will give out on you. Like if you don't. Yeah. So you think of these things and you're like, okay, well, I'll have it on standby just in case I need, because you don't know what day, if you're going to have a good day. And that's the other thing people don't understand about spoonies. We can have a week where we feel fantastic that whole week. And then 3 days later, we can be in bed and not be able to get out.
So
we're not faking.
Right? Yeah. So do you not to, I mean, I'm not trying to throw, just broadcast your business or anything, but I know some people with invisible, too late. So some people with invisible conditions have handicap plates, handicap placards that they hang from their mirror. If you have one of those, have you gotten a stink eye at the store?
So my doctor has told me I could get one and I'm not there yet. But then every time, especially this time of year at Christmas, when I have to park 45 miles down the road, it seems like, and I have all the bags with me, it's a lot. I should have that sticker, but I don't yet.
I have not. I feel very fortunate that I have not felt the need to get that sticker, but I'm not going to promise that my whole life I won't have it, but I hesitate only because I've seen so much of that in parking lots and stuff. Yeah. And it's like they park in their handicap spot and then they get out of the car and the person walks into the store, grabs a cart, walks around the store, comes back out, gets in their car. And people think, well, there's nothing wrong with you. Well, think about this for a second. Maybe it was a good day. Maybe it was a good hour. Maybe for that hour, they weren't in excruciating pain. And they said, if I don't go to the store now, I'm not going to go for the rest of the week. So have a little grace, people.
People don't understand that. They don't understand. And that's the other thing with us spoonies. What I struggle with is I am on very strong narcotics because of my legs. Yeah. You can't tell. Nobody could tell. I work, I speak, I do all the things because my body actually needs them. Right. Yeah. And my doctor says that. He's like, because they go to a different part of your brain. So you don't people are like, how do you function? And I'm like, because my body physically needs them. Cause I don't even tell people what I'm on because if they knew, they'd be like, how are you? But yet I still see oh, she takes these, she only drug. And I'm like, you don't understand. First of all, believe me, my very, very last the last thing I wanted to do was be on medicine. Believe me,
Of
that was
course.
the very last thing that but when it got to me not being able to get out of bed because I could not move my legs, physically could not move my legs. And when every single doctor is telling me, like, Cindy, if you want to have any quality of life, you've got to start taking these, then you take them. I've got 2 kids,
Yes.
and now look at me, like, I can work, I can speak, and I have zero, touch wood, side effects from them because I actually need them. So I get frustrated when I see people online saying, oh, you know, we need to get rid of all, and I understand people do, there is a disease, there is a problem in this country, but we cannot say that is everybody, because you look at me and I would not be able, my legs would not function. I would not be talking to you right now if I didn't have my medicine.
You can't say anything like that as a blanket statement. Honestly,
No.
You can't say nobody should be on, you know, like psychotropic drugs for
Exactly.
because okay, so some of those drugs for some people, for some times, have caused problems. And okay, yeah, but that doesn't mean you cut the legs out from under every single person that might need it. There might be 1% of the population that actually need that medication to function.
That's right.
And so like bipolar or schizophrenia, you know, there are medications that they need, you know, so you can't just, you know, it's such an all or nothing society sometimes.
So much.
You know, it's like, well, you shouldn't be taking those. Well, actually I should.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like, I feel like my pharmacist, like when I pick them up, I'm like, oh God, please don't, like this one pharmacist, he still gives me the stink eye every time I go. I'm like, dude, I've been coming here for 2 years. Like nothing has changed. Like I clearly come here cause you know, I have to go every 4 weeks, you know, and like, you have to take a drug test every time you go, like to make sure there's nothing else in your system. Like it's very regulated, at least here in Georgia. And like, don't give me the stink eye, buddy. I've been going to you for 2 years. Like, you know, I need this medicine, you know? Yeah. And like still, like when you go, every time you have to put the list of medicines you take, I'm just like, oh God, here we go. Like, are they gonna?
And probably, I mean, that's probably why you chose the business owner route and the
for sure,
right? Because same thing with a like a corporate career. Like if you were at a big company or something, forget it. They wouldn't even let you in the building if they knew the list of medications you were on, maybe, you know.
I never would be able to go back to a corporate job, I think, period. And this is another thing I talk about and why I'm trying to help and be the chronic disease sort of, because there is no way I could work 9 to 5 with my legs, with the fatigue. And this is such a thing with chronic disease people. Like, for me to show up at a corporate office and work every day from 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, I physically could not. Could you do that, Jeff? Could you?
You know, I did that for a long time. I was a private investigator, process server, and armed guard at a private school for better part of 12 years. And so as a PI, you're sitting in your car for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on time, you know, waiting for the guy, right, to come out so you can get him on video. And driving a lot, and as a security guard, you know, you're walking around a lot, but you're also sitting a lot, and it's just it got to the point that I just couldn't do it, and I recently left, literally like in the last 2 or 3 months, I left that full time. I'll still fill in, but I couldn't do it, and I'm totally with you because and people don't understand. I had so many people come up to me and say, oh, like this was the classic one that I got from a couple people. I love these people, don't get me wrong, but they just don't know. The guy said, oh, so you had surgery? So you're good now. You got surgery, so you're good now, you know? And I said, no, I got surgery, so I'm alive. I'm here. I'm still here now because I got surgery, and I'll probably need to do it again so that I can continue to still be here, you know? So it's people don't, the chronic part is what people don't understand.
They don't understand,
especially when they handle it well, like you and I, you know, there's people that just, they walk around because of the pain tolerance gets built up so much that they don't see it on your face. They don't think, they don't believe that you're at a, you know, like, what's your pain on a 1 to 10, right? Like that scale's a joke, by the way.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
But people, you know, you walk around at a 5 like all the time, and people don't understand that.
It's so funny you say that, because my pain doctor that I go to, not only do we have to do like these, you know, drug tests and all the things, we actually have this test they do. It's like a nerve test or something that sees how much pain you have, because what they don't want to do is be masking pain that could be like hiding another cause that you have. And so I have to take these tests, and the guy's like, the doctor who puts those, he's like, do you realize like your your pain level should be like an 8. Like, and he's like, and I'm like, well, that's what you, just like what you said. I'm like, but you get used to it. Like, so then they get all worried. They have to do blood work, all the things. I'm like, I'm fine. That's just, you get used to it though. Like your body.
See, that's why I have to bring my wife to all these medical appointments, because she's the interpreter. So they'll say, what's your pain level? And I'll say, it's a 3. And she'll go, hold that thought. It's not a 3. He's saying a 3 because it's built in.
Right.
But it's for a normal person, for you and me, that might be a 6 or 7. He's a 3, so it's that kind of thing.
Yep. We hide our pain so well. That's the thing. If I go to the ER, I'm in pain. Like, I'm there for a reason. Like, I'm not there for pain. I'm there because I really think something is wrong with me.
I almost don't like to go to the ER. Because even when you're sitting there and you're in excruciating pain,
yes.
I mean, unless it's really bad. I mean, if it's like a 20 on a scale of 10, then maybe it might visibly be, they could see it on your face. But really, you go in there and they think nothing's wrong with you either.
Right. Oh, I know. And then you wait for hours and hours and hours. And I know. It's
horrible. I was laying on laid out 2 chairs and was laying down, literally writhing, but they couldn't tell because it wasn't, on my face, but it was I think we were there for like 6 hours before I got anywhere. So I'm with you. It's
familiar.
Yeah.
Work needs to be done. Work needs to be done. This is why we need to form this community that we're talking about. We all need to work together.
Yes. And and honestly, I know it's a tall order, but really we need to start at the root, which is the medical schools and the medical, because the doctors, which I wouldn't be here without good doctors and good surgeons. So thank God for good surgeons. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus there. I truly value you as a person, as a professional. But really, when you graduate med school, that's your baseline. Then you start your education with your, talking to your patients and stuff. And so we need to change the relationship between the medical world and the pharmaceutical world and the naturopathic kind of world, because there's benefit in all 3.
Yep.
And so,
Yep, for sure. 100%. And, like I said, I mean, at least with the FMD side, we're raising more awareness, funds, which can help raise more awareness, which means more people are finding out about it. We have there's a great Facebook group now that people can ask questions. And like I said, I'm one of the older, it's so funny. Like was diagnosed 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was like, no, it seems like nobody knew what FMD was. And now like more and more people are getting it. And because of social media, I'm meeting more other women who have it, and we can like share stories. Is this normal? And so that's why social media can be such a great thing as well.
It can be. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. So, you know what?
For that reason.
I just looked at the time. And
oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. See, that's what happens when you have good conversations.
We literally have like a minute left, 2 minutes left at tops. I know. So we've had the website going on the bottom of the screen this whole time, which I'm very glad, because everybody needs to go there and get your learn on, man. Go check it out. Go check out the upcoming book, all the things. Mm-hmm. Leave us with, we got about a minute and a half left. Is there any last thing that you like? How can people reach to you? Like, besides the website, what's the best way to reach out to you?
I'm super active on social media, in particular TikTok and Instagram. And my name, all of my social media, YouTube as well, is 716 Girl in ATL. So 716 Girl in ATL. Buffalonian, moved to Atlanta. So it's super easy. 716 Girl in ATL.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm super active. That's where I do a lot of my talks, about chronic illness and spread awareness and all that on there as well.
And I imagine all those social media links, if they went to the website, they're everywhere on there. And of course,
everything is on there.
Nice. Okay, good. Okay, cool. Any last minute? Literally, we have like a minute, but any last minute thought that you want to leave people with?
Yeah, no, what I want to say is, I feel it's so important that for anybody who's facing a chronic illness, or really if they're just struggling in any way, just to find that one dime, right? Find that one person who can support you. If it's online, if it's in your backyard, whatever, on the phone, because that is so important. And if you don't have that one dime, like, I'll be your one dime. Reach out to me, because I'm there. I've been there. And I feel like, especially with the holidays coming up, you're not alone. You're never alone. And just, I think that in a world of chronic illnesses, oftentimes we feel alone. You're not. And don't forget that. So find your one dime. If you don't have your one dime, reach out to me. I'll be your one dime. For sure.
That's awesome. That's so cool. That's fantastic. Yes, reach out, because that is the only way you're going to, I mean, people have so much trouble doing that, but it's so important. So yes,
Absolutely.
Please reach out.
We need to be there for one another, especially now more than ever.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. I totally with you. With all the medical advancements, you still feel alone. You feel like it's in your head. So, I mean, that's why I say that at the beginning of the show. It's not all in your head, everybody. Okay. It really isn't. So, but we really definitely need to have you back for another show. So maybe when you get that book out, we'll have you come back. So
for sure.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fantastic. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all you're doing to raise awareness, and I will definitely be back. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. That was awesome. That got away from us. I think that got away from me. I couldn't believe we were already at the end of the show. So if you have, for those of you that have been watching for a while, thank you. And for those of you that are new, thank you. And if you have a favorite episode, like it, share it, get it out there, because if it's your favorite episode, it's probably somebody else's too. So join us for our next show. I believe that'll be Tuesday, December 19th will be our next show. So we'll see you then. And until then, have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon.